Okay, so I'm going to speak on art of service. I'll just give Mangalacharan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvisheshunyavadi Vaishadeshtarine Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we are talking about art of service. And interestingly, if you want one synonym of devotion, one word for devotion, that is service. In fact, many people asked many things from Srila. Many times Prabhupada answered in many ways what is devotion. But one word for devotion is service, because devotion comes from Sanskrit word bhaj, and bhaj in Sanskrit means service. So yeah, thank you. So, but the point is, there are so many questions. I mean to say, what we are doing here, we are here to serve Krishna, isn't it? All of us. So, and there's so many types of service. You can cook for Krishna, you can do book distribution, you can chant the holy names, you can read Prabhupada books. There's so many services we can do for Krishna. And in fact, Krishna honors us by engaging us in his service. We are honored when Krishna allows us to serve him. We are obliged to be in his service. But the problem is, there are so many questions now. How to serve him in the best way? And another question is, how do we know that my service is accepted by Krishna or not? Because he is not speaking to us, at least now, isn't it? Anybody talks to Krishna? I don't think so. Somebody, maybe in dreams somebody, but that is a dream, but not really. You come here, but he doesn't talk to you. So how to know whether our service is accepted or not? That's another question. And another question is, how should I increase the quality of my service? Quality and quantity. All these questions are there, and we have to understand that. But the first point is, what is service? And by the way, these questions are important because in Krishna consciousness, in devotion, many people are running fast, and many others are walking, and some are crawling, some are lying down, and some are just sleeping. Isn't it? That's about Krishna consciousness. Different people are advancing at different pace. So Srila Prabhupada used to chant 16 rounds. We are chanting 16 rounds. What's the difference? There has to be some difference in his chanting and in our chanting, isn't it? There has to be some difference. What's the difference? That's a question. And if we can figure out what's the difference, then we can start doing that thing, and as Prabhupada says, become like me. Or do more than what I am doing. That difference we have to know. What's the difference between great personalities and us? And once we understand that difference, then we can work on it. Okay, so what is the art of service? That's what we are going to talk about. Okay, so what's the definition of service? Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice definition in Nectar of Instruction, Introduction. Nectar of Devotion also Prabhupada gives. Devotional service means to prosecute Krishna conscious activities which are favorable to transcendental pleasure of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Now this word prosecute is not a good word now, isn't it? It's not prosecution. Prabhupada used that time, but prosecute means execute. Yeah. And there we learn like that, execute. Prabhupada says service has three components. Now you please hear nicely, because I'm going to complicate it. As I go along, it will become complicated, but I'll explain you, no problem. So devotional service has three words. Service means three things: execute, favorable, and pleasure. Okay, so what are these? What do we mean by these things? These are the components of service. Just like if you make khichdi. Oh, you know khichdi, all of you? Like Mataji? Okay, fine. Okay, khichdi. If you make khichdi, the components of khichdi are rice, dal, and maybe water and ghee, and don't forget salt. And if you're mostly Gujarati, so sugar, maybe. Okay, so those are components of, if you mix them, then you get khichdi. Similarly, if you mix these three words and you practice these three words together, you get, then it is called service. You understand? Now, what are these three words? We'll go in details now. Now, here is going to become little bit subtle. And I'll ask you some questions, and please answer to me, even if it is wrong, because it is important that I should not get bored of. I don't like to do monologue. I like to do a dialogue. Because I'm not a preacher, I'm a teacher. So please interact. I'll ask you and speak. Okay, fine. So, prosecute in simple words means doing. Isn't it? Execute, doing, to do. And favorable means to follow. Favorable. If I have to do something for somebody, I should do according to how he wants, not how I want. Now there's a problem there, isn't it? If somebody asks me, suppose if I ask you, give me a glass of water, and you are very intelligent and over smart, and you go in the kitchen and you say, oh, it's water, he wants water, so let us take a juice, orange juice. So it has water also, orange juice also, and it's nice. So you bring orange juice. Then I say, come on, I have diabetes. I didn't want that. But you thought that it is good for me, but I didn't want. You see the point there? So that's called favorable. You have to do something for your beloved or your master in a way how he wants, not in a way how you want. That's very important, and that will make a difference when we go in the subject. That's called, so favorable means following, isn't it? You follow his desires, how he wants. Is it? That's clear? And pleasure means happiness. You have to follow his desires in such a way that it gives him happiness. It doesn't annoy me. Like for example, this same example, if I ask somebody water, and the guy and the devotee, he brings me water. And you know how he does? He brings me water and he says, here, take it. Okay. He's given me water. He has done. He has followed. But will it give me happiness? Yeah, take it. That's not the way you give, It doesn't give pleasure. So you can do something for somebody how he wants, but it might not give pleasure to him. So you should do in such a manner that it gives happiness to him. You see the point? That is called service, and that is called a true servant. Now here it's little dicey. Now, okay, fine. Now I'll ask you one question. Which one is the most important out of these three? Doing, following, or happiness? Now for entire seminar, I will be using these three words: doing, following, and happiness. Okay, I'm not using those words: execute, favorable, and pleasure. Okay, so which one is most important? Doing, following, happiness, or all of them?
All of them.
Okay. If you want to choose one, what do you choose? Okay, happiness is the most important, because if you do and if you follow and it's not happy, what's the point? The idea here is, so now you understand. Now the first point in service is, the aim of service is to give happiness to your master or your beloved. That's very important. The aim of service is not to do something just keep on following. It should be done and followed in such a way so that it gives happiness, and that's very important. You can keep on chanting your rounds, you can come here and do some service, but if it doesn't give happiness to devotees and Krishna, it's not service. You see the point? You can say, I'm doing something. Well, if devotees are not happy, what can I do? Isn't it? It happens, no? What can I do if they're not happy? Anyway, I'm doing. But that's not the point. When we talk of Krishna, we talk of devotees also. All of them. So it should be done in a way so that give happiness. Okay, happiness, okay. Can you give Krishna happiness without doing something? Now, there's another question. Tell me. To give happiness to Krishna, we have to do something, isn't it? That's important. Can you give happiness to Krishna without doing anything? Is it possible? Yes or no? How many people say yes? Come on. How many people say yes? Okay, how many people say no? Come on. What about others? No idea. No idea. Okay. You can give Krishna happiness without doing anything. But we cannot do that. There is one person who does that. Who is that? Yeah. Radharani. Radharani's existence gives happiness to Krishna. She doesn't need to do anything. She simply exists. She simply stands beside Krishna. Krishna is happy. Isn't it? And that's what she is doing on the altar. Is she doing anything? Nothing. She is just standing. But her existence gives happiness to Krishna. But we have to do something for Krishna because our existence doesn't give happiness to, isn't it? Anyway, it's a dicey thing. Does your existence give happiness to Krishna? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, you have to think about this fact because we are such a nonsense and crazy people here in this material world. Even when we are doing devotion, we are messing up so many things, so many offenses, so many things. It doesn't really give happiness to Krishna, but Krishna anyway passes on some smile to please us, you know. In altar, he's smiling, no?
Yes. Yeah.
He's smiling to please you. He's not really excited that you have come to temple, isn't it? He's excited. No, he's excited when Prabhupada comes. That's his excitement. He's sort of, okay, these people are there. He's not really happy when he sees us. When he sees us, the emotion which comes in his heart is of mercy. You see the point? There's a difference. The emotion, he's a person, by the way. Do you agree that? No or not?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's a person. We have to remember that. So he has emotions. He has ideas. He expects some things from us. When we come in front of him, he's thinking something. He's thinking, and when he sees different people, he's thinking something else, isn't it? He thinks. Prabhupada says that. Prabhupada gives the meaning of Krishna consciousness. This word Krishna consciousness, by the way, this word is from one of the verses of Rupa Goswami from the book Padyavali, which Prabhupada quotes in Chaitanya Charitamrita and many other books, and you might know this verse also. Tatra lolyam api ekalam moolayam. How does it start? How does it start? How's the first two lines? I just forgot that.
Krishna Bhakti.
Yeah. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Kutopi Labhyate. That's the verse. And interestingly, you see the Prabhupada named this movement not Krishna chanting, but Krishna consciousness. It's nice, no? Prabhupada should have named Krishna chanting because chanting is the main thing. Or Krishna Hare Krishna. Or Krishna consciousness, because this verse says Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi. Mati means buddhi or consciousness. Krishna means Krishna. So Krishna consciousness. Now Prabhupada gives many meanings of this word in different lectures. One meaning of Krishna consciousness Prabhupada gives to be conscious of Krishna, isn't it? To think about Krishna. Am I okay? Clear? In one other morning walks or lectures, Prabhupada says another meaning of Krishna consciousness. So when you start with thinking of Krishna, but when you advance, you know what happens? You can think how Krishna thinks. You're conscious of Krishna. You're conscious how Krishna is conscious. You see the point? When you advance, you can understand that how Krishna is thinking, not just how you are thinking about Krishna. how he is thinking. That's interesting, isn't it? Just like we come to altar, so when new person comes, he sees Radha Krishna and he's thinking of Krishna, isn't it? When he sees Radha Krishna, oh, Krishna is so beautiful, Radha is so beautiful. But when you advance and when you come in the temple, when you see Krishna, then you see Krishna, and immediately, because we have knowledge, we can understand what Krishna is thinking standing on altar. What is his first thought? What is his foremost thought in his mind? Huh? The foremost thought in his mind is Radha. We know that. There is no other thought beyond that, isn't it? We know that. So we know. Okay, when you advance, then you know Krishna is thinking about Radha, Radha is thinking about, you know. So that's another level of Krishna consciousness. You can think how Krishna thinks. But when you perfect your life, when you perfectly advance, perfect devotee, then there's another meaning of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada says that when you can think how Krishna thinks about you, when you can think how Krishna thinks what you are thinking, that is the perfection of life. Am I confusing you? When you are conscious how Krishna is conscious about your consciousness, that is perfection of life. That's 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗀𝗃𝗃. So a devotee can think how Krishna is thinking about him. So that's what. So when we come in temple, we know, okay, fine. When Krishna sees us, yeah, he's having emotions of mercy, but he's not really happy or excited. And he's saying, okay, I'll do mercy, I'll advance. But because we are not really perfect, he's not really happy and excited. But he's happy and excited of thinking of Radha. That's why Radha is there with him. So that Radha is one person who can give Krishna happiness without doing anything. Her existence gives happiness to Krishna. So you see these three things: doing, following, happiness. That is why happiness is the most important component. Because there is a person who can manage to give happiness to Krishna without doing and without following anything. Simply existence, happiness. But for all of us, all the three are important. Doing, following, and happiness. All of things are important. Okay, now let me ask you another question. Okay, fine. Let me ask you another question. If you want to go from doing to following, what do? New devotees, they come and do something, isn't it? When somebody new comes to temple, they will do something, but they will not do exactly how we want. They might do something, but not exactly how we want. Just like we tell to people, if people come here, people say, okay, people say, okay, everybody's chanting Hare Krishna, I also want to chant. Okay, chant. But then they ask devotees, devotee says, well, we chant 16 rounds. They say, no, 16 rounds, no, I can't chant. So whatever I want to chant, we say, okay. So he's doing something, but not exactly following, isn't it? Because he cannot, because he's new. Okay. So if you want to go from doing to following, what do? Now you want to follow. From first step to second step, you need knowledge, isn't it? By knowledge, when you understand what you are doing, then you will like to follow. When you understand why these people are asking me to chant 16 rounds, what is the point, then you will want to do, isn't it? And if you want to go from following to happiness, and if you want to learn how to follow in such a way so that people become happy, what do? You take association of devotees. They will teach you how exactly to follow to make people happy, because that's an art. That's why I put the name art of service. It's not a subject, it's an art, it's a skill. So anyway, so do you know the difference between a subject and a skill? Math, chemistry, bio, they are subjects. Cycling, badminton, swimming, they are skill. And what's the difference? Oh, well, no, exactly. The difference is
Theory and practical.
The main difference is a subject you first learn and then practice, and a skill you first Do and then learn. If you want to learn swimming, you don't go to college and first read. First you jump in water. And then you start figuring out what's swimming. Nobody can learn swimming by reading a book. That's a skill. So service is an art. More than understanding, you need to do it to actually figure out how to do service. And that is taught by devotees who are already doing something. Isn't it? Okay, so here is a point. Now, according to this service, now I told you following, doing and happiness makes service, isn't it? According to that, there are 3 types of servants. Now, this is mentioned by the way in Ramayana. 3 types. It's mentioned in Bhagavatam also, but very till Ramayana. 3 types of servants. And now you should figure out what type of servant you are. Type 1, type 2, type 3. It's for us. It's not for the person sitting beside us. No, it's for us. Okay. So what is the 3rd class servant? So okay, first, so remember those 3 words, following, doing and happiness. Are you clear, all of you? You remember that, no? Okay, fine. Now according to these 3 words, there are three kind of servants. The 3rd class servant, he will does when he feels nice. If he doesn't feel nice, he will not do. Isn't it? I don't feel nice to do this, so I'll not do. That's a 3rd class servant. And he follows, but follows out of force. He will do something, but out of force. Now here, force doesn't mean that we catch the collar, and here force means he follows on with the force of orders. If you say he will do with the fear of offenses. If I don't do, there'll be offense, this and that. There's a force there. And as far as happiness, he will do something for Krishna, he will follow, but while following and doing, sometimes he'll forget that he's giving happiness to Krishna. He will just forget it. Am I clear? He'll just be absorbed in himself. He just forgets what I'm doing, He's just doing something. That's a 3rd class servant. 2nd class servant is, he does as much as is said. You tell him, he will do. And then he'll go to his room. And then you tell him, he'll do, and then he'll go to his room. But he's ready to do. No problem. That's 2nd class. And 2nd class servant spontaneously follows. He will want to follow. There is no fear of offenses. He doesn't come for Mangal Arati because I will do offense. He doesn't come for Mangal Arati because Prabhupada said only. That's not the point. That's 3rd class servant. 2nd class servant comes to Mangal Arati because Prabhupada said, but at the same time, Prabhupada said, and he also likes to come in Mangal Arati. You see the point? I like. Why he likes, that's another question. But he likes to come in Mangal Arati. That's spontaneous following. And the first thing is, he always remembers the happiness of Krishna. When he's doing something for Krishna, chanting, reading, cleaning, he remembers, I'm giving happiness to Krishna. You see the point? 3rd class servant, he'll forget. Just like we all, we even forget Krishna when we are chanting. What about other things? We all of us, isn't it? Our mind is somewhere else. But for 2nd class servant, this will not happen. When he's chanting, he's remembering Krishna. That's 2nd. And what is 1st class? 1st class servant will do more than what is said. You order him, he will do more than what master has said. Because he will understand the intentions of the master. You see the point? The connection between servant and the master, 1st class servant. And he's obsessed with following. He wants to follow. He doesn't want to do anything from his mind. He will always ask his master, how should I do that? Just like if you see Ramayana, when Ram, Sita and Lakshman, they're in Chitrakoot, Ram orders Lakshman to make a hut, isn't it? And you know, all those Shupnakha came, but so Lakshman asked Ram, and Lakshman said to Ram, Ram, you have asked me to make a hut, but you should also tell me where to make it and how many rooms, because I don't want to take any decision from my own speculation. So he wants to follow, he likes to follow. That's what I put, obsession. And the first thing is, if 2nd class servant always remember Krishna, 1st class servant never forgets him. That's 1st class servant. 1st class servant, even if he tries to forget Krishna, he will not be able to do that. That's first class servant. Okay, can you give me example of first class servant except Prabhupada? Prabhupada is a first class servant. Any other example? Perfect example of first class servant.
You could be.
No, I am not first class servant. Come on. Probably we are all second, third. Okay, gopis. Any other? So I want a classical example.
All acharyas, 6 Kushamas.
Oh, no, one classical example. Prototype. You have heard for prototype? Prototype. Just like example for Shravan example is Parikshit. Kirtanam it is. Who is that Kirtanam example? Sukadeva Goswami. Similarly, what is an example for this?
Hanuman.
Okay, good. Hanuman is given the example because Hanuman did more than what was told to him. Ram only asked Hanuman to bring the information of Sita and give his ring. He gave ring to Hanuman. He said, okay, pass on this ring and give information. That's all. But Hanuman did more than that. Hanuman burned Lanka. Isn't it? That was not ordered. Hanuman also met Raman. That was not ordered. And Hanuman put lot of fear in the heart of Raman. Before meeting Hanuman, Ravan was convinced he can destroy Ram. But after meeting Hanuman, Ravan was really confused. He said, if one monkey can do this, how much millions of monkeys can do? Before that he was saying, when Ram is having monkeys, was a big thing. We are Rakshas. Like all these monkeys, they were throwing stones, and Ravan's army, they had missiles. How can you compare? Even today, war. Ravan, just crazy people. But after seeing Hanuman, he was really confused. And actually, he was afraid. He was actually thinking to surrender to Ram at one point. But his son, Meghnad, and all these ministers, all his son, who was that? Other sons who were killed. So all of them, they just said, no, Raman, you should not do this. And he again forgot these things. So that's Hanuman. He did more than what is said. And Hanuman was always obsessed with following. Ram kaj karibe ko. You have know this. He always wants to do something for Ram. He's ready. Ram, what can I do for you? He was always guarding Sita, Ram, Lakshman. He was always ready. And he could never forget Sri Ram, even if he wanted to. That's the perfect example, Hanuman. First class servant. Okay, now you tell me, which class servant we are? Third, second or first? Third? You're sure? All of you. What we are? First, second or third? Okay. Perhaps, yeah, I don't think so. We are even third class servant. We are probably third or sometimes below third. Prabhupada says I am 10th class. We are not even fourth. We put ourselves above Prabhupada's humility. Prabhupada says that we are 10th. So we got to be 11th or maybe 12th. So that's you see the point. When you understand what service, then you can understand. We have to go to first class. First class. If you want to become first class servant, you have to do more than what is said. Prabhupada did that. Prabhupada's guru ordered him to distribute books, isn't it? To print books and distribute. That was the order. And to go to West. That's it. Prabhupada did more than that. Prabhupada came to West. He not only wrote books, he not only distributed books, he opened temples. Bhaktisiddhanta didn't instruct him. He opened Govindas. He didn't do that. He also conducted marriages. International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Bhaktisiddhanta, of course, if Bhaktisiddhanta would have been there, I don't know what would happen if Prabhupada was doing that. I don't know what would have been their discussion, but because Bhaktisiddhanta was really strict brahmachari. He was not at all involved in marriages. Bhaktisiddhanta even didn't want to give initiation to females when he started his mission. But one of his aunt or somebody, they forced him that, you are doing mercy to so many jivas. What about females? They are not jivas. So Bhaktisiddhanta says, okay, I'll give initiation. But he said, I don't want to see females because I am a strict brahmachari. So at the time of initiation, there was a curtain between Mataji's and him, and he used to throw the beads from up. He was like that. He was pakka brahmachari. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta was so strong celibate, he often criticized his father, Bhaktivedanta Thakur. And he said, anyway, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he's a grasta. We can't follow him. He used to say sometimes that it's interesting to see how pure devotees interact, but he used to say that. So anyway, Prabhupada, of course, Bhaktisiddhanta would have instructed Prabhupada to conduct marriages, seeing his mood. But Prabhupada could do that because why? Because Prabhupada understood the heart of the purpose of Bhaktisiddhanta, not just what he was doing. The purpose of Bhaktisiddhanta was to spread Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada understood the purpose and he did that. You understood? You got the point? So first class servant not only understands what is the order, but he also understands the purpose of the order. That's a difference. That's how he can do more than what is required. And that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, no, that famous verse, don't preach to people who are envious. Isn't it? Krishna says, don't preach this knowledge who are envious, who are not austere. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, well, Krishna says, don't preach, but as devotees we will preach. This is defying the order. If anybody reads, but no. Because Prabhupada understands the purpose of Krishna. Krishna is saying, don't preach, because Krishna is worrying about us. If we go to envious people, if we go to so many people, we might fall down. We might become convinced by them. But Prabhupada says, no problem. You become strong and go and preach and change them. That's so they understand the purpose. So that's first class servant. We should always aspire to become first class. Now, here's a point. Now, there's a question, very important question. I want you to understand this, because this is the key for advancing in service Krishna consciousness. Now tell me, just think and tell me, why third class, second class and first class servants are different? What makes them different? They're all following, and they're all focused on the happiness of Krishna, isn't it? All the three components are there with all of them. But still there is a difference. What makes that difference between all the three servants? Consciousness? All of you, isn't it? That's why the movement of our name is Krishna Consciousness. You see the point? And consciousness is a very abstract term. Prabhupada uses another term for this. He doesn't use consciousness. What he uses is the key element in service is not doing, not following, and not happiness. I asked you what's the element? You all told happiness, but it's not even happiness. Now things are changing. There is something else which is making a difference. You got the point? So in khichdi, it's not rice, it's not dal, it's not water. There is something else in khichdi which is giving taste. What's that? That is attitude. Prabhupada uses the word attitude. Either you use the word consciousness or you use the word attitude. Attitude is a very, consciousness is a very theoretical word, very broad. Attitude is to the point. Prabhupada speaks in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 22. Krishna becomes obliged to loving spirit of devotee, not exactly to the service rendered. The spirit. No one can serve Krishna completely. So complete, self-sufficient, he has no need of any service from devotee. It is devotee's attitude of love and affection for Krishna that makes him obliged. You see the point? Attitude. Everybody clear? Okay, so how do you define attitude? Now we have come to this point. Service, most important thing is the fourth thing. Not doing, not following, not happiness. But attitude or consciousness. How do you define attitude? What's attitude all about? We have to understand, because now we have to follow. We have to correct our attitude. So what's attitude? Before that, Okay. This is attitude. Attitude in dictionary means viewpoint, outlook, or perspective. You see perspective? What's your viewpoint? What's your perspective? Or what's your intention? That forms the attitude. Attitude is based on knowledge. Now here's a point. First question is what? What you should do. Okay, that's okay. We know what you should do. Chant, service, this and this. What should you follow? We know that. Read Gita. Krishna says, you follow this. So what question we all know, but attitude answers the why question. If you want your attitude to be correct, you have to answer the why question. Why you have to do what you have to do, that will make your attitude. That is the difference between first class, third class, second class. Second class servant knows what to do, but he doesn't know why to do. That's why he's not convinced, and he sometimes do, he sometimes doesn't do. Second class servant knows why to do. That's why he's convinced, he's doing, and he's following. And first class servant knows how to do. He doesn't only know why to do, but how to do it. That's first class. So attitude answers two questions, why and how. Remember that, why and how. That we have to clear. And how to get answers of why and how? By knowledge. That's why Prabhupada says, read my books. If you don't read Prabhupada books, and most of the devotees are not reading Prabhupada books, unfortunately. Am I right? Am I correct or not? So recently in Mayapur, they did a census, and they gave a performer. How many people have read all Prabhupada books? And they were devotees, 20 years, 30 years in the movement, 40 years, and 99% said no. They have not read all Prabhupada books. Okay, let me ask you, how many people of you have read Gita? Gita? Full? Why half? Okay, yes. Page to page, word to word, full stop to full stop. Okay. How many of you have read Bhagavatam? Full Bhagavatam. Okay, some. How many of you have read Chaitanya Charitamrita? Some of you, not all. See, I travel all around the world. I've been to USA, to UK, to Europe, to everywhere. But I ask the same question, and when you come to Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's two people, one people. But you see the point. Chaitanya Charitamrita should be the first book you should be reading, because you chant Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Without their mercy, you can't approach Krishna. So after 6-7 years, that's the book you should be reading. Of course, Prabhupada says Gita is undergraduation, Bhagavatam is post-graduation, Chaitanya is super specialization. That's all there. But that thing Prabhupada has spoken from a different perspective. Not from the perspective of reading in systematic manner. That was so there's a discussion with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj comes with that book, no? New book? What's that book? He published a book. In that he asked Prabhupada, so should we read Chaitanya Charitamrita now? Prabhupada says, okay. Prabhupada says, why are you asking this question? He says, Prabhupada, everybody says Gita is undergraduation, Bhagavatam is post-graduation, Chaitanya is super specialization. So I have not even finished Bhagavatam. How should I read Chaitanya? Prabhupada says, no. Prabhupada says, okay. Do you know who is God? Bhakti Charu Maharaj says, yes, Krishna. Do you know what you have to do to Krishna? What you should do with Krishna? He said, surrender and do service. Prabhupada says, okay. Do you know you have to love Krishna? Bhakti Charu Maharaj, yes. Then Prabhupada says, then you can read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because Chaitanya Charitamrita analyzes love. And that's the goal of life. If you don't analyze love and understand love, you will never get it. Then you will just be struggling with the mind. Devotion is not struggle. Devotion is love, isn't it? Loving God. So you see the point there? Gita will tell you what to do. Bhagavatam will tell you why to do. Chaitanya Charitamrita will tell you how now. So if you want to become second class servant, you have to read Bhagavatam. If you want to become first class servant, you have to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please read Prabhupada books. It's very important. Srila Prabhupada said so I often repeat this, there is no evidence for this, there is no documentation, but one of the Prabhupada disciples, he recounted his memory on Prabhupada Disappearance Day. He said Prabhupada told him that he should read at least Gita 100 times. At least. Bhagavatam 50 times. Chaitanya Charitamrita 7 times. And then you know what Prabhupada says? Then you can hope to go back to Krishna. And you know what I mean to say, even if you don't have evidence for this, it makes a lot of sense. Because by repeated reading, then you enter those books. And then those books speak to you. These books are living. Prabhupada, this is Prabhupada, and he will speak as you read. As Krishna Consciousness Swami gives an example, the more you rub chandan, the more smell comes, the more you read the books, the more insight, the more understanding. So you see the point. So you understand what's attitude? Everybody clear? So now you tell me, what's the most important component in service? Doing, following, or happiness? Come on. What's the most important? No, I just told. Attitude. It's neither of these. Per se. It's attitude. And what do you mean by attitude? Why and how? What we know. Why and how? Please answer this question. Okay, let me ask you a question. I asked you this. Okay, let me ask you. Why do we chant Hare Krishna and why not Krishna? Why not Krishna, 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 Krishna? Why Hare Krishna? Anybody tell me?
Because Radha is not there to Krishna.
So
we chant Radha's name, so Krishna is pleased by Radha. So we get more mercy. So Hari means
okay, we get more mercy. Okay, fine. We get more mercy. That's okay. But you know what? Here's the point. Here's the point of attitude. So anyway, just a minute. So I'm not pointing at you, but I'm just taking example. Now here's the point. This is attitude. If we say we get more mercy, now here the attitude is not proper because we are thinking about ourselves. You see the point there? We, me, my, I, me, I. That is material what we were doing. And the same disease we have here. All of us. It's not her, all of us. Krishna, give me blessings. As if you're very important. If I don't exist in the world will get destroyed. So please give me blessings. This whole attitude of I, if you can change this, that's a trick. That is attitude. So okay, so I just took your example. So don't mind for that. That's okay. Everybody's doing that. Okay, so why are we chanting Hare Krishna? The same question.
Krishna will be pleased.
Krishna's happiness? What happiness?
This is the first service to the Lord.
Krishna to engage in service.
No, Krishna to engage in a service. We. No, so now you forget yourself for a moment. Think about Krishna. Forget yourself. Try to forget yourself. That is devotion. A good servant will not remember anything about himself, isn't it? He's just focused on his master. A good servant forgets himself when he's doing service. He's focused on his master. That's a very good servant. Okay, so,
When Krishna is happy with the existence of Radharani, so then he will be happy if we say Radharani before him, we put Radharani before him.
Before him, okay.
Satisfied.
You're not exactly to the point. You're to the point and not to the point. So, let me tell you exactly. This is the matter of attitude. Now, why we are chanting Hare Krishna? Because, you know why? Because, okay, let me ask you a flipped up question. If we chant only Krishna, 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 then what happens? If we don't chant Hare Krishna, if we chant only Krishna, Krishna, then what happens? Now you answer this. And then you can answer that question. Now what you to say?
Krishna is engaged in
So?
he's not even listening to Krishna.
No, he can listen. He can listen even now what I am speaking.
I think he's
The love is missing.
If you say Krishna, 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 then what happens? He can listen. Now let's assume this. And this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes this point. Krishna is absorbed in Radha. Can he listen or not? That's a question. And Vishwanath says, yes, he can listen by his inconceivable potency. So let's say he can listen. So let's chant Hare Krishna, Krishna. Why Hare Krishna? What happens if we chant Krishna, Krishna, Krishna and not Hare Krishna? You know what happens? If we chant Krishna, 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 then what happens? All his attention comes to you. You're calling him in Krishna, his attention comes to you. That's okay, but that's not service. What's service? Service means not to distract the attention of the master from where he wants to fix his mind. Am I right? Krishna wants to fix his mind on Radha. As a servant, we are not here to distract his mind from Radha to us. That's why we don't chant Hare Krishna. Bhaktivedanta Thakur says he says, I even don't want to look at the face of that person who chants only Krishna's name. He writes this in his Swanim Dadvash. He even states even a step further. He says, a person who is chanting only Krishna's name and not Radha's, let him go to hell. He even speaks this to the point. Why? Because that's not service. Service is to enhance the mood of the master, isn't it? If Krishna is so happy with Radha, why should we distract his attention on us? We should rather make his attention more on Radha, isn't it? And that's why we chant Hare Krishna, because when we chant Hare, that Narottam Das Thakur says, and Prabhupada quotes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna name gaane bhai Radhika charan paaye, Radha name paaye Krishna chand. When you say Hare, Krishna immediately starts remembering Radha. And when you say Krishna, Radha immediately starts remembering Krishna. So we say Hare for Krishna, we say Krishna for, and that's how we chant. We don't chant Hare for Radha and we don't chant Krishna for Krishna. In real sense, philosophically you do that. You do that, Krishna, Radha. But when you advance, your whole attitude is very different. From third class to second class to first. You see the point? The change in attitude? It changes. It's the same mantra, things change. And that's how we should actually really it should be chanted. So that's why we chant Hare Krishna, to make Krishna remember about Radha and to make Radha remember about Krishna, and both of them in each other companies, they are perfectly happy and satisfied in all respects, and we are happy if our master is happy. Even if Krishna doesn't think about us, no problem. 𝗙liche𝗹𝗶𝗹𝗀. Okay, whether we accept me or not, but we want he should think about Radha and his devotees, and okay, fine, we are happy, Krishna. So that's why. So one of the saint, he said, a South Indian saint, he said, my whole aim of life. So actually, Krishna asked that Alvars, you know Alvars, South Indian saint. Krishna asked that saint, what is the aim of your life? And he said, my aim of life is to just see a smile on your face. That's attitude. That is a difference in attitude. A third class servant, if you ask him what's the aim of your life, he will say, Krishna Prem Pumarthavan. He will quote a verse, chalo ho gaya. But he will not understand the purpose of that verse. And if you ask a second class servant, what's the aim of your life? He will say, aim of life is to surrender and have faith and love Krishna. And a first class servant will say, the aim of my life is to see a smile on his face. It's same, but it's different. Am I right or not? It's very different. Because in that there is no sense of selfishness. That's why we chant Hare Krishna. So you see one example of attitude. I'll give you another example of attitude to make things clear. Okay, now we understood there are three things: what, why, and how. So what? Okay, suppose you take example of doing, the first component, doing. So we're talking about doing, and we're talking about what, why, and how of doing. Now, what you should do. Prabhupada says in one of his letter, so you're all young men, I request you to engage your time in reading books. You should do reading books. In chanting, you should do chanting. Deity worship, you should do deity. Going to preaching, you should do that. Selling books, don't be lazy, always remain engaged. That is Krishna consciousness. Is it clear? That's what. What? But the question is, why should we do all these things? Because Prabhupada says, if you give this logic, because Prabhupada says we have to do, that's okay. But then, I can always argue you are having blind faith in your guru, isn't it? Because somebody can come, my guru said that. Another person can say, my guru will say that. So you have to defend your answer. Why does Prabhupada say this? You should know why guru told you this. Otherwise, we are blind faith, we are mythological, we are superstitious. It comes to same to us. That's what uniqueness for Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, this is science of devotion. I am teaching you why to do. All other temples, Sanatan temples, they are not teaching you why to do. That's why they are in rituals. That's a difference between ISKCON and, isn't it? Am I right or not? So, okay, why you should do this? That's the attitude. And here's the question. Can anybody answer this question? Why you should do all these things? Why? Why you should do? Why you should sell books? Why you should go on preaching? Why you should chant? Why? Because Prabhupada says, no, come on. That's not a perfect reason. You should know some other things. That's not real service of Prabhupada. That's not real devotion to Prabhupada, because Prabhupada says, Prabhupada expects us to understand why. That's why he wrote so many books. So why? Okay, quick, tell me, I don't have time. You should tell me why. We all are doing this now?
Yeah.
Am I not? Why?
Serve the Lord.
Okay, why you should do this?
To serve the Lord.
To serve Krishna, to Krishna. Okay. If you give me the answer to make Krishna happy, don't give me this answer, because this answer is answer for all questions. Then there is no answer. All questions can be answered to make Krishna happy, but this is not a specific answer. This may be for kids, but now you are in the class.
Keeps us engaged in this service.
Oh. How? Because? For peace? No, we should not think about yourself now. Get out of yourself. Get out of yourself. Yeah.
To spread the...
So, and to correct our attitude and give up all.
No, that's what I'm asking. Attitude. No, you can't use the term attitude now. I'm asking this now. That's a tautology. You see, it's a simple thing. I have asked you a simple thing, but you don't have an answer for that. You have an answer, but not a precise answer. It's abstract. And that's the difference between attitude. That is why some people are running, some people are walking, because some people know exactly why they're doing this. And that's how they think. If you know why you are doing, that's how you will start thinking, and that thinking is Krishna consciousness. So why? No, peace Krishna is answer to all questions. You see, don't answer this. Some answers are universal answers. It's kids, it's expected, but not adults who have read books and philosophy. You should know. Okay, I'll give you the answer. Change in consciousness? No, that's my question. What is the change in consciousness? Okay. To develop love for Krishna, that's again universal answer. It can be answer for all questions, isn't it? Okay, so it's a simple question, but difficult answer. Okay, I'll give you the answer. Why we are doing this? Prabhupada gives the answer. That's why please read Prabhupada books. This seminar is not just seminar on art of service. This seminar is also designed to inspire you to read Prabhupada books. Prabhupada books have all answers. Prabhupada books are more than perfect, but we should read carefully. What Prabhupada says, okay, here, why? Because Krishna is serving us. Prabhupada says in room conversations, why not serve God? He's so great, He's giving us so many things. Let me return something. Let me do some service. We are doing so many things for Krishna because He's doing so many things for us. We are doing in an attitude of reciprocation. You got the point? The attitude is to reciprocate with that beautiful person who has been doing for us so many things and also doing now and will be doing eternally. So we have to give back something, isn't it? This is Prabhupada in 3 lines. He has summarized Vallabhacharya's philosophy. You know, we have a Sampradaya, Vallabh Sampradaya. Whole Vallabh Sampradaya is based on these 3 lines. Whole teachings of Vallabhacharya is to to help us understand why we are serving God. So it is a matter of reciprocation, isn't it? So so this is a time of Diwali. So in Diwali, so many people give gifts, isn't it? So what you do? वो खा जाते हो सारे काजू कचौड़ी और what do you do? You exchange. You then give again. Give. That's a gentleman. Otherwise, in Prabhupada's language, we are. Prabhupada uses a heavy word. We are rascals. We are not even a gentleman. We are not even a gentleman. Krishna is giving so many things, and we don't even give something to him. What kind of person you are? You are not even a human. What to say of a devotee? That is why scripture says a person who is not doing devotion to Krishna, he is not even a human. You got my point? That is why it is said. Because that basic sentiment is not there to return. So that's why we are serving Krishna, because Krishna is serving us. We have to reciprocate with him and if you understand this, you will never stop serving him. Because he never stops serving you. Does he stop serving you? No. Who is beating your heart? Not you, because when you sleep you forget yourself. Krishna is doing for you, so we should do for him. So you cannot stop serving him. Why? Okay. And how you should serve him? If you want to become first class, how? Prabhupada speaks about that also. How? Service is giving, not taking. Prabhupada says in Montreal Bhagavatam lecture, therefore we should try to give to Krishna, not to us, because he has given us everything without asking. How you should serve without asking anything. Don't even ask him blessings if you want to become first class. No. You know what first class person does? First class devotee gives blessings to Krishna and not asks. Prabhupada says in Nectar Devotion, what Yashoda is doing? She's asking blessings from Krishna. She's giving blessings. So first class servant will come and he'll say, Krishna, may you be glorified in all the three words. May you have all the happiness and all the peace and all the satisfaction. Am I right? We should wish this for our master, or we should wish this for ourselves. Krishna, may I have all the peace, all the not a good servant. If you can make Krishna perfectly happy, you will automatically become happy. You don't even need to ask that. Happiness is not a result of devotion, by the way. Happiness is a side effect of devotion. The result of devotion is love. But most of us are occupied in happiness, peace and satisfaction, isn't it? Now, that's not a good attitude. We are missing the goal of life, love of God. So you see the point? That's how you should serve Krishna. So you see the point, attitude. Now I've given you examples. Attitude. So if you have to correct this attitude, what you have to do? Read books. This is from Prabhupada books. I have not quoted Vishwanath, Jiva Goswami or hi-fi books. I have not quoted here. I'm not even interested to do that. Read Prabhupada books. Prabhupada speaks in a very simple language and to the point. Okay, so that's why Prabhupada says advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of follower. That's what I told you. The most important component in service is not doing, not following, not happiness, but the attitude. Prabhupada says advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. And I've explained you what is attitude, why and how. And how do you correct your attitude? With knowledge. How do you get knowledge? By reading Prabhupada books. So please read Prabhupada books. At least 100 times Gita, 50 times Bhagavatam and 7 times Chaitanya Charitamrita. Can you do that? No, do that. You see the point. You can do that if you want to do. I personally have read Gita thousands of times. Chaitanya Charitamrita thousands of times. You know, there is a trick to do that. Just read them like a novel. Don't try to understand. Read it. And slowly you will start understanding them. But if you try to understand, then you will never be able to even to read them. Read them like a novel. Just read them. How much time it takes to finish a novel? 2 hours? 3 hours? Okay, 1 day, 2 day, 1 week. That's all. Just read. Just make a habit. Just make a habit of reading. Bring that reading culture in our society. That's very important at this present time of our institution. We have to bring this culture of reading back. Because Prabhupada says if a movement gets destroyed, there'll be just one reason for that. People will fight among themselves, isn't it? And why people will fight? Empty mind is devil's workshop. Why mind is empty? Because there is nothing. Because people don't read books, no substance to think, nothing to discuss. And then, so yeah, now the last question is how to do service. You see, so now we have talked about why you should serve. Okay, with proper, okay, fine. With proper, how you should serve, why you should serve with proper attitude, isn't it? Now, how practically we should serve Krishna, what we should do to make our service quantitatively and qualitatively good, isn't it? We want to increase our services. What should we do? Okay, here are some tips I am giving you to increase the quality of your service. Some tips which Prabhupada gives. The first tip is keep service pure. Prabhupada says in one of his lecture, very cautiously, intelligently, we have to make progress in spiritual life. It's beautiful. Don't take it very insignificantly. We should be very much careful. Otherwise, there is fall down, and once fall down means gap of millions of lives. Millions of years. You got this human form of life to complete Krishna consciousness, but if you're not serious, then again a gap will be of millions of years. If we lose Krishna consciousness now in this life, after millions of lives we will get. It's not a joke. We can't take it as a joke. It's the Prabhupada always says, it's a serious business. You see, we have to bring that seriousness again in our movement. Somehow that will come by reading Prabhupada books. It will come. So and Prabhupada says cautiously and intelligently. You know what's the meaning of why Prabhupada says cautious intelligently? Prabhupada says be cautious of offenses and be intelligent to understand what? To understand what? Now fill in the blanks. To understand dash.
Truth. Krishna consciousness.
To understand Krishna?
Consciousness.
Consciousness. Yes. Yes. To understand not Krishna exactly, not Radha, but love of God. That's a target, isn't it? If you understand love of God, you automatically understand Radha Krishna. So that's that. You see that paragraph I have made. There is something called purity in Krishna consciousness, pure Krishna consciousness. Purity is maintained by philosophy. Philosophy helps you to maintain purity because then you understand what is wrong, what is right. And pure Krishna consciousness is that you start understanding the pastimes and nature and his qualities. So Prabhupada, if you want to do service nicely, it is Prabhupada's standing instruction, read his books 1 hour daily. Have you read? Letters, Prabhupada says. And Prabhupada says at night you should read Krishna book. Prabhupada has said that. How many of you are reading Krishna book at night before sleeping? I caught you. I caught you right at the point. So Prabhupada says this is instructions for all the people in my society. And if you don't do that, that's Guru Ravagya. That's offense. And you can chant, no result. So please read, and there is a reason for that. Prabhupada is very intelligent. His instructions is very simple but very deep. Now, so please make it a point to read 1 hour daily his books, or at least 45 minutes, at least something. Take out time. And Krishna book. Now you might say, I hear lectures all the day, isn't it? People hear? But hearing lectures and reading have some difference. In hearing lectures, you don't contemplate, isn't it? In hearing lectures, you are simply downloading. But in reading, you are processing. You know this, no? CPU and memory. That's little difference. That is why after Shravanam comes Mananam. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Reading is a very focused type of hearing. Shravandas, Varandas, you know that, no? All those. That's why reading along with Shravanam is a very. That's why the word for reading is Swadhyay. You know this? For hearing is Shravanam. And Swadhyay is a special form of hearing where you start contemplating. You understand? You got my point? So now in this seminar, you're not only hearing, but you're also Actually reading, because I am making you contemplate. You're reading. So please read. So please read both Prabhupada books 1 hour and Krishna book 45 minutes, and then your service, your attitude will become good. If your attitude is proper, your service will give result. Otherwise you can keep on doing service. Bhahu janma jadi kare shravana kirtan tabu to na paye Krishna pade premadhan. Mahaprabhu said, even if you do Shravan Kirtan for lifetimes and lifetimes, if your attitude is not proper, which will lead to offenses, by the way, we don't get love of God even for millions of lives. It's a simple thing, not complex, but it'll make it to the point. Okay, second thing is, make your service interesting. Prabhupada says, service should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of audience. This is called realization. This Prabhupada is talking about giving lectures. This is service. Prabhupada says, make service interesting. So you see service, you see this triangle, this foundation, addition, changes. It's very important when you do some service, you can always change your services, because if you keep on doing one service, your mind might get bored of, isn't it? That Prabhupada says that's why Krishna made 9 types of services. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, isn't it? So you can choose. So try to change, try to add something in your services. Variety is mother of enjoyment. So do something creative. That's the idea. Do something creative. Krishna is very creative person. Am I right or not?
Yes.
Krishna doesn't like to be bored. Am I right or not? Vishnu can be okay with your boredom. Vishnu is like that, official. Krishna is not like that. That's why one of the name of Krishna is Lalit. Dhira Lalit. Rupa Goswami says, one of the qualities of Krishna, Dhira Lalit. Krishna is Dhira. And Dhira means self-controlled. At the same time, Lalit means very joking, very playful. Krishna is like that, no? He plays and jokes. He doesn't like boring people. Don't bore him. Don't bore him. Yeah, we have. So how? By making your service interesting. Prabhupada made services interesting. Prabhupada says, go to China, go to Africa, or maybe make a temple, nice temple, and then temple. Prabhupada gives so many ideas. Service you can make interesting by coming up with creative ideas. You got the point? Just like these festivals, it's one of the creative idea. Or sometimes, you know what I do when I give lectures in my centers? I don't give lectures. Sometimes okay, I say, today no lecture, today a quiz. And then there is a method to do quiz. Males at one side, females at one side. That's very interesting because females want to win. So there's some ideas, come up with nice ideas, isn't it? So if you daily offer Krishna khichdi with full love and devotion, what happens? He'll say, yes, okay, it's nice you love me, but I'm getting bored of. No, that is why Radharani makes every day, every meal, there is a new dish. You know that, no? She never repeats the same dish since eternity. Since eternity, she has been making new dishes. I don't know how she does that, but she does that because she doesn't want to bore him. Okay, and third is, please plan your services. Plan your services. Now here is a chart, I don't know, you can not see, but Prabhupada says, in the mental activities, we should always try to think of Krishna and try to plan how to please him. So plan your services. Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion, plan. So how should you plan? Keep a diary. All great people kept a diary with them. You have seen Prabhupada kept a diary? You know that, no? Prabhupada kept a diary. There is a diary. Bhaktivedanta kept a diary. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also wrote something. Even notorious people, Hitler kept a diary. It's a habit of all great people to keep diary, because then you can know whether you're advancing, not advancing. Keep a diary, and you know, so in diary you make 3 columns. And you know what? First column, what's that first column you should write?
Date.
What's the first column? Tell me quick. No? Oh, come on. Time is already printed.
Activity. Learning the activity.
No, first column you should write your own faults.
Oh.
Don't forget that. That's the most, if you don't figure out your faults, we'll never advance. First column, what is my faults? Second column, what services I'll do for Krishna. Okay? Third column, how will I accomplish these services in how much time? Deadlines. And make a chart and practice Krishna consciousness like a science. Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to do that. It's not my thing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says you should do like this. He recommends this and he used to do that. And then we know whether we are advancing or not advancing, what's happening. Isn't it? Otherwise we don't know what's happening with us. We are just coming, going like machines. What's the progress chart? This is same. Do not do service but create services. Prabhupada says, I have hatched a plot of book distribution. Yes. I'm just finishing, yeah. And another thing is, on Ekadashi, Prabhupada recommends, Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends, on Ekadashi, revise your plans. Ekadashi is a day to revise your plans. In your diary, what you have written 15 days, revise on Ekadashi. How much I have accomplished, what's my faults, how many faults I have able to overcome. And then next, Ekadashi is for that. Ekadashi is not to eat kutu atta and all these things. That's not the purpose there. What's happening? The idea is not just to not eat an. If that's the idea, that's a Karmakandi idea. That's not Vaishnavism. Bhakti Siddhanta, I'm just doing that. Bhakti Siddhanta even asked some of his devotees to eat khichdi on Ekadashi and go for book distribution. I'm not advising you, but the idea is the spirit of service. On Ekadashi, we have to take out time to revise and introspect what is happening to me. Am I right?
Yes.
And the last thing is, the art of service is in this letter to Tushta Krishna. In Bombay, January 9, 1976, Prabhupada writes, actually one should try to serve Krishna to his or her full capacity without the thought of reward. Service is itself the reward. This is the perfect attitude of a servant. This is the art of service. When we serve Krishna, we should understand this is the reward. Why we are not asking anything for Krishna? Because we understand this is what Krishna has to give us, his service. This is the reward, his service of many lifetimes of whatever we were doing, or mercy of devotees. And that is why I was telling in the car. So one sannyasi came to Bhakti Siddhanta, and actually he was like 40 years in the movement, and he came and he said to Bhakti Siddhanta, I have been serving this mission for so long time, but I didn't get anything. No money, says a sannyasi, no wife, no house. What happened? And Bhakti Siddhanta, tears came in his eyes. And he said, you have already got what millions and millions of jivas don't get, the service of Supreme Lord Krishna, and you are saying what you have got and what you want. And he was really sad. So that's the spirit of service. We are here, when we are in service of Lord, we have attained perfection. We have all attained perfection, but we don't realize it. That's the whole point. Because our whole attitude is not right. So my request is, please read Prabhupada books. Prabhupada books includes Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It also includes his letters. This is from one of his letters. It also includes his morning walks and his room conversations. Read all of those. If you cannot read, please ask somebody to force you to read. You can do that. Or start a reading club. Start a reading club here and read books, inspire everybody, and you see all problems will be solved. This is one solution to all problems. I am telling you. One solution to all management, to all political, to all your mental problems is reading Prabhupada books. I don't think so anybody will argue here for that. There's no debate, period. And thank you very much for coming here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.